Okay, everyone. So I'm not the best right now. I don't look like it's okay for me to look the way that I look. But anyway, hi everyone. How you doing? I hope that everyone is doing good. I'm here live, and I hope that everyone is having a great Wednesday. I surely am. I don't feel too good today. I don't know. I feel like puking for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, okay, so everyone, I'm here. My name is Maria Almanzar, and I'm here just to talk. That's all, just to talk, but mainly to talk about something that's so interesting to me because I heard it from another friend, and this friend is going through a current situation with another friend, okay? And so I just wanted to speak up on that because sometimes we need to help other women and empower other women to not stall on decisions that could fatally be bad for them. And so, since I've been through relationships, okay, as a very young adult, I've always been in bad relationships, actually. I've never really, I think that I can actually count how many relationships I've had. And for the very first one that I had, it was not good. And, it was just not good. And so, as a woman myself, I want to empower a woman to not continue to stay in relationships that are not fruitful, in the sense that, if you're staying in a relationship that is for financial reasons, and you know that you have a good job, and you can take care of yourself outside of that relationship, and that you don't need to stay in a relationship where that man is actually hurting you psychologically, then I feel that you should you know find ways to remove yourself from that person. Sometimes it's hard to say. It's actually hard to do than to say, because I was with someone for 16 years, and I thought that that person was going to be a forever for me. And when I made that change, it was a very drastic one. It wasn't one that I really wanted to do, because I thought that I had found my soulmate. We had very good things in common. Not everything that we liked were in common, but some of them. And so when I was young at the time, and so I thought that I would never find anyone, but when I found him, he was like the forever for me. And then as I continued along in the relationship for the 16 years that we were together, I, you know, I, he started to belittle me. He started to, at first it became like, okay, you will never find anyone, you're not attractive enough, you can't do without me. And and then it became like, you can't wear this, you can't wear that. And then it became to the point where arguments started to ensue, and we now it was getting physical. And when it gets physical, that's when you need to remove yourself from that relationship. Sometimes it doesn't really have to be physical. Sometimes they're so cunning. I don't know if that's the right word, but sometimes they're so good at what they do that they manipulate you mentally. And so then you start to believe everything that they say to you. You're not good enough, you're not worth it, oh, you're so ugly, or you're not intelligent, or you're so stupid. Those little things, even though sometimes they do it playfully, but it's really the intent to lower your self-esteem. And so I can understand by the way that the person was speaking, my friend, I can understand of where the friend is at this moment that maybe it's a financial thing that that person is in that relationship and maybe they feel comfortable in that lifestyle. But sometimes those things, those material things, are not worth your inner peace and your inner well being. Sometimes we need to remove ourselves from things that are basically what we are comfortable with, need to be uncomfortable for a while. Sometimes we need to make a drastic change in order to see our self worth and what we're really worth. I went through a lot. When I left my apartment, not this one, the current one, when I first came to Las Vegas, I was in the hospital. I had been in the hospital several times. And when he abused me, I also had to go into the hospital because I was also physically abused. But, this kinds of things are the kind of things that I like to talk about because maybe I can help someone in that kind of situation. I may not know about how it feels to live comfortably because right now I live comfortably like what I can live, like I think that I live comfortably. But there are people who actually, have money and they depend on that other person financially. And so, you have to sit down and actually say to yourself, is all this material stuff and the way that this person, the way I'm living, is this worth me taking all of the abuse mentally? Is it even worth it? And sometimes it's not worth it because, you become so numb to the fact of that person mentally abusing you that go figure if that person one day decides to leave you. Have you ever thought of that? Like, some people never think of that. Like, like the abuser abuses you because, you are immune to that person's abuse. Okay. But can you imagine in your mind that perhaps maybe that person doesn't really want you? And so that's why they do that to see how, oh my gosh, like to see, like, okay, I'm abusing her and I'm doing all of this, and which in fact maybe she's not getting it that I want not to be with you anymore. Have you ever thought of that? That maybe that's why. If that person wasn't acting with you like that years back and now is acting a whole different way with you and is, sometimes I get that. Like some people do certain things and they don't want to tell you straight out, look, I want to leave you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And so sometimes that other person doesn't get it. Like, okay, sometimes it takes, you know, physical confrontations to wake up that other person so that they can leave, you know? When somebody abuses you mentally and physically, it really is something that you should, it should click right away. And it's not easy to do because remember, you love that person. Okay, you've been loving that person for that certain amount of years. And so to remove yourself from a relationship that you're so accustomed to and love that person, have loved that person, and probably still loves that person, it's going to be hard for you to remove yourself. But then I see now that sometimes when we are in a relationship, and sometimes, things happen, and maybe that person does certain things that you've never seen that person do before. And all of a sudden they're doing it now, like they're belittling you, they're criticizing you, they're physically and emotionally hurting you. maybe that person doesn't want to be with you. Maybe that person no longer feels what they used to feel for you. And so sometimes we do stupid shit like that to hurt that other person so that maybe it'll click to that person that I no longer want to be with you. I no longer want to have this relationship with you. So sometimes we need to remove ourselves from situations where it can become very, very bad. And not only think about ourselves, like sometimes we remain in a relationship and sometimes we don't, like literally ask ourselves, like maybe I should really leave. Maybe I should actually pick up my stuff and go somewhere with a friend or with a family who does and will support me. And support means not support like in money, okay, but support in, like support and emotional support, you know? So there's many factors here. Like sometimes, like we're in a bad relationship and and wow, we found somebody that finally understands us, but then we are in that relationship in which that other person that we still care for is treating us really shitty. But then again, we as people shouldn't judge because sometimes we don't know what's really going on. And so I, as a woman, can only give the good advice because I do think that what I'm giving right now is a good advice, is that, sometimes we need to remove ourselves from situations where it can become very, very more violent than it already is, because that is an abuse and it's not physical, but it is a mental abuse, which can damage you for a very, very long, long time. So maybe being in another relationship right now is not the thing. It's not the thing right now to do. But if you have a friend that possibly you feel something for, maybe you have confided in that person and that person sees it and they want better for you because they know you're worth a whole lot. You know what I mean? And so that can actually help you because that can make you think that not just that person is telling you, but maybe other who you have confided in maybe see it as well. Like, why is this person staying in this relationship? This person that she's with doesn't even see her worth, doesn't see what a beautiful human being she is, but that he has somebody that is a beautiful person, not only from the inside, but from the outside as well, but doesn't appreciate that person. You understand? And so sometimes we actually have to remove ourselves from that other person in order to see our worth and what we are worth and how, and how we can start living again as a single person and to heal while we leave the relationship that we were in. Okay? Because we need a healing time. And sometimes we need to heal ourselves is by staying on our own and being on our own and healing sometimes on our own and really looking inside ourselves to the point where do we really want a relationship right now? Is it best to be in another relationship right now? Let's take our time to, to see how and where I go from here. Because from A to B and then to C, it's all a process, and a process is a very slow one, and sometimes we never can get out of it. Like I feel right now like being single is best right now because, for me is not so much like, that's another thing too, where women fall into insecurities and sometimes we don't want to be with someone at the time because we ourselves feel like we're not secure enough to be in a relationship, and that has nothing to do with that. Sometimes women choose to, yes, be in a relationship, but sometimes we don't want to give up our freedom. And so we've been so long amount of time that, you know, it's best to take things slow. I am not the kind of person that if I like someone and if I truly like that person, I'm not for like, okay, because I'm too old for that. Like I'm old. I don't want to be waiting forever for a person to decide of whether they want to be with me or not. Neither do I want to be anybody's. I'm switching to something else now. Now it has nothing to do with the other person, but it has to do with me. Like I don't. I'm setting myself as an example. Like I am not. I don't want to wait for someone to decide whether they can be with me. I don't want to be neither that person where I have to be a bench. I'll give this person time to decide whether they want to be with me or not. You see, it's not about that. If you really are into that person, there should not be no waiting time, because does that person fit to your liking? Is that person, and it even has to do with nothing about good enough. What it has to do with is this person, fits what I'm really looking for. See, because sometimes we get into relationships and we no, wait, let me switch it up. We start dating and then we like that person, okay? And then little by little we start getting to know one another and we see things that we like in that person, and wow, like it becomes good at first. And then after a while, that other person can't decide whether they want to be with you or whether they want to continue to live the single life. Like I have no problem with loyalty. I have no problem being with a person and being absolutely loyal to that person because I am that kind of woman. If I have somebody that is with me, like you're with me and you want to have a relationship with me, it has to be exclusive. But if you have not mentioned exclusivity to me, then you're not ready to have a relationship. Because people are confused with relationships. Okay? When you are dating, you are you are wanting to see if you want a relationship with that person. Okay? And sometimes that other person is not in the same mindset like you are. So, that other person can't decide of whether they want to be with you or they still are looking around. And so, see, that person may make it clear, but then again, they're not making it clear when they continuously, make conversation about that. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you are currently dating somebody and you like that person, and so we all need to have a waiting period to get to know each other, okay? And let me tell you something. You never get to know a person until you live with that person. You never get to know a person, and I'm talking about their habits, their way of being, because we date someone for like say 5 years, doesn't mean that you know that person. You're you're going out with that person, okay, and you are in a relationship with that person, doesn't necessarily mean that you know that person if you have not moved in with that person. But neither, if you are in a relationship for 5 years and that person hasn't said to you, well, let's move in together, why are you in that relationship? If that person has been with you for 5 years and hasn't said to you, let's get married, okay? I'm not even talking about engagement. I'm saying marriage, like a ring, okay? And actually getting married. Doesn't matter whether it's by law or whether it's by, I'm that kind of person that, okay, doesn't have to be by church, it can be by law too. And if they're not saying that to you, then why are you in that relationship? Now, because when I moved in with my ex, I moved in with him. Okay, I moved in, and no, we didn't get married. I decided I didn't want to get married. Not that he didn't want to get married, but I almost thank God that I didn't get married. Sometimes that's why I'm saying that sometimes marriage is not for everyone. Marriage is not for everyone. But also, people remain in relationships, like women and men remain in relationships for 5 years, okay? And that man has never proposed to you, has never said, I want to marry you, I want to move in with you. Never. Why are you in that relationship? Is that relationship going anywhere? Are you two planning a foundation? Like, has stayed like this? Like, for the 5 years, has it stayed like this and never went up? That's bad. Because you're wasting your time. Like, there are some people that I have seen that they have been together for 5 or 6 and 7 years. And I'm not talking about moving in together. They're actually, in a relationship, and the man has never proposed to her, has never said to move in, has nothing. Why are you in that relationship? Like, we are so twisted. Like, what is a relationship to you? A relationship to me is we are in this relationship together to see where it will go. Okay? But there has to be a time where we are going to either get engaged or move in together or marry. One or the other. I mean, really. And basically it's really, that's why I don't get into relationships. Because relationships are really, really complicated. You get into a relationship, it's a very complicated thing. Very complicated. You have to be in a relationship where both of you are willing to be together and, and wanting to start something more than just staying in a relationship. People stay in relationships and they remain in relationships, and that relationship doesn't grow. It just stagnates to the same level. And so when you see that, why stay? I myself as a person, if I want to be with somebody and, I wanted that relationship to grow emotionally, in feelings, and also, like, we grow together. That's what I'm trying to say. We grow together, okay? And we really have, and in order to be in a relationship also, I see a lot of people that are in relationships because this person has money, or this person is cute, or this person, this and this, okay. All cool, but we have to think that not all the time we're going to depend on the looks. There has to be more to just looks. You have to have some intelligence up here, and you have to be able as a couple to grow. If you don't grow and you don't have the same aspirations, like, you can have 2 different jobs, but if you aspire to be, let's say, a manager, and the other one aspires to be a boss, to have his or her own business, then that's growing, because you're growing and you're wanting things. And those things are not necessarily have to be with each other. Sometimes we can be together and still have things that we aspire and not be the same thing, but yet grow, to be better than what you are. And like each day, a relationship should be of spontaneity. Like it should be spontaneous. It shouldn't be like one should be giving more than the other. It's all about being together, growing, and getting to know each other every day. That is the whole purpose of having like that is a relationship. Like growing together, getting to know each other every day. Because we change, not every day, but we change. We have different stuff that we want. And so by sharing it with your significant other makes it even more better. But when you have a relationship that is only one-sided, or that person cannot decide whether they want to be with you or not because maybe they don't look your type, or maybe they don't have what you want in a relationship, and all that is good. But then you have to decide that and let that other person know, because that person, it's unfair for that other person to wait on you. It's unfair to have that person, be waiting for you to make that decision. Like if you basically want that person to be just a friend, then you should state that. But then don't go around, don't go around saying, well, look, I'll be your friend, but I want benefits. Because you don't want a relationship with that person, and it's unfair because that person doesn't want benefits. That person wants more than just being benefits. You understand? It's like, okay, like me, like if I am in a relationship, I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to have to wait for that person to decide whether I'm good enough for them, or pretty enough for them, or financially better for them. Like those things come as we go along. It shouldn't be a factor. Like when I look at a person and I want a relationship with a person, I'm not thinking in my mind, and I'm actually like this, I'm not thinking in my mind, wow, what can, like, what does he have? His paycheck, or does he have a car? Does he have a good house or an apartment? No. If I am with someone and I'm in a relationship with them, I'm first thinking, what is he all about? Can we have a good conversation? Is he a funny person? Does he have a good sense of humor? Does he get along? Will he get along with my friends? How does he, is he a good problem solver? Like, okay, like if I have a problem, can I depend on him to listen? Not to really actually solve my problem, because if I've been alone and I've been alone like for a long time, like, yeah, I would want him to help me, but also it has more to do with emotional support. Like, can I depend on him to cry on his shoulder, or can I actually talk to this person? Will this person, actually hear me out and not just ignore me or ghost me like what they do today? And that's what I'm saying. Men want a woman who looks all Barbie doll and all cute, but then when they, like, will that last? You know what I'm saying? Will that last? Well, all of that lasts in the long run, because you have to understand, as you get older, everything changes. Nothing remains the same. So as you grow older together, that's another thing too. As you grow older together, will you still feel the same when you first met that person? And that's what really it is about. Like if you still feel the same feelings that you had when you met that person, and as you get, as you get to know that person, they start changing, and not everything remains the same. Even your taste change, your physical changes, even the way, what you used to like before, you no longer like it. You know what I mean? So here we are in a relationship, and we start growing, and sometimes when we grow in different directions. The whole thing is that is not for the couple to go to different directions. And if you are going in different directions, that if you're going in different directions, you should try to remain as a couple, and like talk about each, like talk about when you need to talk about what are now your differences, and what you like and what you don't like anymore. Because as a couple, many of the things that you used to like are no longer the things that you like anymore. And so, that's how couples need to grow. They grow, and sometimes as they're growing, they grow apart instead of growing together. You understand? And so that's why I say relationships are, as a couple, I'm talking about when you're already together and you have been together, and, what started out as good, in a couple of years may not be so good. And so as a couple, you need to grow together and not grow apart. And so those things should enhance the relationship. You know what I mean? You should enhance one another, compliment one another, encourage one another, empower one another, grow with each other, okay? And always keep it at that, and always make your relationship alive. Like make it alive, and not to the point where you go your separate ways and you no longer have interests. Just because you have different interests does not mean that you have to fall apart. And that's what usually happens to relationships. They fall apart once things start changing. That honeymoon is no longer, as time passes by, and you see now that things are so different. Doesn't indicate that the relationship has to go down. It indicates that you have to make it work, and each day make it so that, like if things change, make it a good thing, not a bad thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Make it a good thing, so that, like let's say I want to drive, and I no longer want to drive. Well, we should talk about it. And that's what happens to relationships also, that it's about talking, communicating, and being there for each other, and just not like, okay, like one will go over there and I don't give a damn what you think. And and that's what happens. And we have to appreciate one another every day, every single day. We cannot take things for granted, because once we take things for granted, they're no longer there. And then, when they're no longer there, then we miss out. So, that's what I'm trying to say, is that relationships are not only very complicated, but they're just like a flower. You need to water it all the time, and talk to it and say, you are beautiful. I love you, and I want you to grow beautiful. I want to grow with you. I want to be with you in good and bad. I want is not I want, really. But what I'm saying is that it should be not want, but I want, in a way that not only for me, but for that other person as well. So, okay, so let's make it different. Let's compliment one another by saying, we can grow together. We can support each other. Let us communicate. Let let us grow as one. I respect you. Let's respect each other. You know? And in reality, when somebody loves you also, that's another thing too. When somebody really loves you and they really want a relationship with you, it's not really about I. It's the first thing that you should hear in someone's, if you're really in their equation and in their life, is we. Because once that person says, once that person starts saying, I, 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 and they don't, and they're not putting in their vocabulary, we, why don't we plan this? Or why don't we do this together? Or why don't we talk? Why don't we communicate instead of blaming each other? It's a whole, it's a whole different dynamic. When somebody, catch it in your mind. Like when somebody says we, is because they want you a part of their life. They want you part of their plan. They want you part of their growth. They want you part of their everyday existence. But when a person says I, is because they only want you to do for them. And so, women, we have to really realize when somebody is, especially when we are in relationships, we have to realize what the other person is saying and keep our eyes and our ears open. Sometimes we tend to talk, but we're not really listening to what that person is saying. And so when it becomes an I into a we, then we know that that person cares. You know what I mean? And it's not really the relationship is just not focused on one person, it's focused on both of you. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Me, on the other hand, trying to talk about relationships is not my thing. I mean, I'm not a therapy at relationships. All I can give you is an advice that if you're going through a relationship that is possibly damaging to your personal mental well-being, then I suggest that you remove yourself from that relationship, because that person is no longer wanting you to be part of their life, but is using you as a mental beanbag to them, to take out whatever frustration or whatever it is that person is feeling. They're taking it out on you. And so that's no longer love, that's abuse. And so I know I advocate a lot about abuse, but it's because women stay in relationships that no longer are useful and healthy for them. And so if you think that because of financial reasons it's useful for you to stay in a relationship because of financial situation, you are incorrect. Because I feel that as a woman, as I am a woman, I think that many women can pick themselves up again and become a better you. And all it takes is for you to decide whether you really, really want to remain in a relationship where a person is mentally belittling you and hurting you and damaging you. Instead of trying to make things work, it shouldn't only be you trying to make things work. And if you're not trying to make things work and you're trying to stay in a relationship that only benefits you financially, then you are in the wrong. Because if you have a job, then make it so that you can remove yourself from a situation that is not good for you and it's not healthy for you. Okay, it's not healthy in any kind of way. Then again, if you're in a relationship with a person that cannot decide whether you fit their their checklist, let's say. Okay, I hate using that checklist, because what, you're like like when you do a checklist on a grocery for groceries, then you check this and you check that, and you know you know it, you know what it is that people have things so messed up right now. Like in my days back in the 80s, when a guy used to like you, he would actually ask you out. Like, and you know nowadays is like you date online. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell is that? Like, I used to receive like these little excuse me, little letter, like little notes. Do you want to go out on a date with me? And it was so, so good, because now we don't do that. We're like, in order for you to go out with a person, you have to look a certain kind of way. You have to be a certain kind of way. If you're not physically fit and physically attractive, immediately they start assuming that you don't take care of yourself. Like I know many guys who probably think that I don't take care of myself, and that's not necessarily true. Like, I don't fix my hair and stuff like that because I don't feel like I like getting my hands dirty. I like getting my hands dirty. I'm the kind of woman that I like to do things with my hands, and I like if I clean, I'm not the kind of person to, like clean with, and I should do it, but I clean, like I don't use gloves, and I like to feel like if I clean, I like to pass my hand through it and see if it's clean. My actual hands, and like that. But I see today that, like you have to have beautiful nails and you have to fix yourself and this and that. And, I've always, I've always said to myself, and I've always looked at myself in the mirror, and I've always, that's one thing to have about you. Like, if you are a person who has low self-esteem, like I'll be looking at myself in the mirror, and I'll point out one thing that I like about myself. And then I'll point some other thing that I don't like about myself, but I'll point like one or two things that I like about myself to make myself feel good, And so here I go. Like right now, I'm looking into my cell phone, and I'm looking at myself. Okay, like what do I like about myself? And I can tell you right now, I may not fix my hair, but I like my hair. Another thing that I like about myself are my lips. I like my lips. I don't know, for some reason I do. And then the other things that I like about myself is my body. I think I have a really bomb ass body. For my age, I think I look good for my age. And then the one thing that I hate, and I hate about myself, are my eyes. Like I wish I had different eyes. But I can't change that because that's what God gave me. I mean, you can enhance something to make it look better. So, yeah, like there's always going to be one thing that you're going to hate about yourself, and those are going to be other things that hopefully you like about yourself. Like if you like your personality, I like my personality. I do like my personality. I think that I have a very nice personality, even though I am shy. But I'm trying to get out of that. But I shouldn't say but. However, I do like my personality. I like the way I smile at people, like I like my smile. You know what I mean? And like those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of things that, like if you are right now in a, if you're the kind of person that has low self-esteem, find something to compliment yourself. I know a friend who told me, and not only that friend, but several friends that have told me, oh, like, you know, each month you should have something that you should do for yourself. And it's true, I never do anything for myself. Really, I don't. But I'm going to start doing it. Like I'm going to start doing stuff for myself. Like, maybe do my nails or my hair or my eyebrows or something. But that's a good pick me up. Like, do something for yourself every month. And, you'll feel good about yourself. And it does work. But I am not a good therapist in relationships, because I am the least person who should be talking about relationships. And about abuse, yeah, I think I'm good about talking about that, because I don't want my sisters to go through, and I'm talking about sisters like friends. I don't ever want to see a woman that will remain in a relationship because, whether financially or because she feels that she won't do better without that man, or she feels because she has been with that person for a long time that she needs to take that kind of abuse. Because no, you don't. And not all men, like I've been told many, many a times, when they ask me, when will you have a relationship? I say, like I am reluctant to have one. Because, sometimes, yes, and we do feel like that. Like sometimes we feel like we're not good enough for that person, and it shouldn't be like that. Because nobody in this world is perfect. And, you are who you are, and you should be proud of who you are. You should be proud. And I also think that when you're in a relationship with somebody, that person should be proud to be with you, proud to show you off. It shouldn't matter what other people say about your partner, because it is you that are attracted to that person. It is you that wants to be with that person because that person makes you feel good, because that person is not only beautiful, but because that person is beautiful from the inside. Because if it's all physical, then it's not. You don't have a relationship. What it is that you just want a person because of their physical self. But if you're really, like a person that it doesn't matter who like, let's say if your friend says, oh no, man, she's not pretty enough, or she's not attractive enough, or, it shouldn't matter what your friend says, because if you love that person, then you wouldn't be embarrassed to be around them. And if you're embarrassed to be with that person, you shouldn't be friends with that person. Most definitely, if you have someone who is embarrassed to be shown around you, like, and I'm talking about on a relationship level, if you have that one man or that woman that is actually not going out with you in the daytime, and is only, wanting to see you in the nighttime, and only talks to you like, let's say, a booty call, because they are embarrassed to be around you, then that person doesn't deserve you. That person should not even be your friend. And when I'm talking about the best friendships, the best relationships are the ones that are friends. Like, if you have somebody that, you have a friendship, started a friendship first before dating that person, that's the best friend. That's the best relationship to have, is the one that you have a friendship with. But also, the worst thing in the world that could ever, ever, ever happen is that that person doesn't want to hang out with you because they're embarrassed to be with you. So that's not really a friend. And actually, that's not, that you shouldn't even be hanging around that person. Like, have I ever had that done to me? Yes, I have. I've had friendships where they're embarrassed to be with me. And why? Because I'm a good human being. I really am a good human. I really am a good person. Now, am I convincing myself? No, I'm not. I'm actually am a good person, and I actually, if I had to do you a favor, I would do it. I am the one person that loves to support my friends in whatever they do, and I love that when my friend, has something good in their life, I like to celebrate with them. I've always said it. I will never be a has-aff friend. I will never be a has-aff as half-ass, sorry, half-ass friend. Never. I will never be a half-ass friend. For me to, in order for me to be that, I will be not a friend. Because if I have to be a fake, and I have to go around secretly to be your friend, let's say there are a lot of friends that like so much attention, like, they have to compliment them and say they're beautiful all the time. I'm not that kind of friend. I like paying attention. I like being with all my friends. I don't like being with one friend and then not with the other. And, not like, I'm not like that. And I like making friends. I like making friends. So I'll never be a half-assed friend. No, no, I will not. I refuse to be a half-assed friend. If I want to be your friend, I want to be your friend. And if you can't be my friend, then fuck it. Don't be my friend. But I don't want to be a half-assed friend. And I don't want anybody to treat me like a half-ass either. Okay? I am a very intelligent woman, and like I said, the best relationships are the ones that are friends first, and then it becomes something more. That's the best friendship. That's the best relationship you can ever have. But however, I also want to say that like my that and about others being embarrassed to be in front of you and showing you off as a girlfriend, that should never be. Like, oh God, no. Like, I don't want to be an embarrassment to anyone. I don't ever want to be an embarrassment to anyone. I feel like I'm a good looking woman, and that if you can't be proud of me to be around me, then why are you even around me? Why are you even wanting me to even be your friend? Why are you even wanting to even ask me out for God's sake? Why? And sometimes that happens too. Like, you know, women are known to be very like, women love compliments, okay? Like, if a guy says to you, "Oh, you're so cute," and this and that, and will you go out with me, and this, okay. And then they ghost you. And then after that, they like friggin', they don't even call you or whatever. Okay? So some guys, they will say things just to get under your pants. So we really got to be careful of who we become friends with as well. So, or who we date. That's another thing too. So, but I've said enough already. I don't think that you guys are even like you guys don't care. Like, oh God, she's the worst advisor for relationships. But I only do this for reasons. Like, if you are in a relationship that like I said before, if you are in a relationship and it's an abusive relationship, it's really hard to get out of an abusive relationship. But it's even more harder when you are mentally abused. And when you are in a relationship where a man is belittling you, but yet you have feelings for that man because you feel that maybe things can change along the way, or you're staying with that person because of financial situations and because you're living a certain kind of way, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you firsthand, get out of the relationship if you have a good job and you know that, live in your means. Like if you are in a relationship and you get out of the relationship and you still have a job, live in your means, live in your budget, and look for something that you can survive, maintain yourself, but yet be happy. Why are you going to be in a relationship where somebody is criticizing you, belittling you, not making you feel happy, not making you feel like you are the world to that person? Why? Why are you letting that other person put you down when you know in your heart, hopefully you know in your heart, that you are better than that? And if you don't know, I am here to tell you, whoever's looking at this video and is going through a lot of shit, and I know that I have talking a lot of shit in this video. In this particular video, I am telling you that you are worth it. You are worth everything. And that you can make it. And that every time you feel like you cannot make it, think of me. Look at where I am. I was homeless. At first, I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico for 7 years with my ex. Okay? But before that, I lived in New York with my ex. And we were going through a lot of shit back then. Okay? And he didn't even have a great job, by the way. And I left my home because I thought that that I would live better. And little did I know, my mother told me this. She said, that's another thing too. When somebody tells you, look, that man is not for you. That man is not a good man. But you can't see it, but your friends can. Take that as a hint. Take that as a hint. And take that as a light bulb that, hello, they're seeing something that I cannot see. Because they told me, they said, Maria, that guy is no good for you. And I said to myself, oh my God, no, that can't be. That is not true. That's impossible. Came out to be true. So sometimes, that happens. And sometimes it's best to find out on your own, but if you can avoid all the hurt and the pain and the suffering, and they tell you, look, this guy, especially those people who know or who know him, personally, and they come out and they tell you, watch it, be careful with him. Listen and be careful, okay? But like I said, come back to my videos, man, and comment, and, you can DM me and you can ask me 1,000 gazillion questions and I'll be okay with it. You don't need to subscribe. You can just DM me if you feel like, you feel like talking. Just talk. I did this video and I'm not even a therapist. I'm just like talking shit. But in truth, and all the shit that I'm talking, I want everyone, like women especially, to listen that, it's not good to stay in relationships that are not good for your well-being. When you start receiving all those abuses, you start actually believing. You start actually believing what they're actually saying to you. Like you actually believe that you're not worth it and that you can't live without them. It's not true, because guess what? We all die, and we don't die with people. When we die, we don't die with our parents. When we die alone. And so think of it that way, like a passing. When you leave that person, either way, you have to leave that person, because if that person dies, or, you have to live without that person. So think of it like that. Like when you leave that relationship, you are leaving them because they have already died inside of you. They have already died. They're no longer in your heart. And so now it's the process of healing. Whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you have to take the time to heal. And so it's like everything. Everything in life, nothing lasts forever. So you think of it as that, you know? But don't stay in a relationship, ladies, because you feel that you need this man who doesn't appreciate who you are as a woman. If he appreciates you, imagine. Another thing too is to look at before I even leave is that if one thing is good that if to look at if you are going to involve yourself with a man, look at the way he treats his mother. If he respects his mom and he loves his mom and he takes care of his mother and he loves his mother and respects her wishes, you got a winner. You got a winner. But if he's doesn't respect his mother and he talks bad to his mother and he doesn't pay attention to his mother, then that is the way he's going to treat you. Yes, ma'am. These are things to look for. Okay? I couldn't overlook or couldn't even see that because my ex's mother died. Okay, so I had no way of knowing. So anyway, guys, ladies, I know that right now I look tired because I am, but I just want to say to every woman that's out there, every queen that's out there, you don't need to stay in a relationship that's an abusive relationship. You can do it. You can. And it's hard. It's going to be hard. I'm not saying that it's easy because, nope, nothing in life is easy. Nothing in life is easy. But you will feel better. In time, you will. Okay? It took me this long to get to where I am right now. And right now, I'm not telling you that I feel like the most perfect right now, but I do feel much better. And I feel very much comfortable where I'm at, and I feel very much content in what I have. Because you know why? Because I earned it. I earned it. I earned it hard, and I earned it good. Okay? So I don't want, like if I have someone in my life, I don't want that person to destroy my peace, and I definitely will not I will not tolerate someone to belittle me. But neither will I tolerate the fact that if you don't appreciate me and you don't love me and you don't want to be with me, and you're not proud of me, then I don't want anything to do with you because I'm proud of me. I am proud of me. Actually, I am. I am very proud of myself. And I don't need anyone to validate that. I don't need any man to validate that. I don't need anyone to validate that. I actually can validate that and say to myself, I've gotten this far on my own. I lived out on the streets. I was homeless for a while. I lived with my little doggy Kobe for a long time out on the streets. But I'm here today and I'm standing strong and I will not give up. So that's what I encourage other women to do and to follow, and it's even harder when you have children and that's a whole different thing. It is a whole different thing. When you have kids, it's a whole different thing. But if you're by yourself and you can do it, I'm by myself and I have my dog, I did it. I made it. So if I can, I most certainly think and I hope that my message, helps you to think and realize and to sit down and meditate and to realize that you are worth something. You are worth to me, because if you're sitting here and you're listening to what I have to say, and I'm not even a professional, you matter. If you see this video, I want you to know that you matter to me. I don't care who you are. You matter to me. I care about you. And I am all for you 100%. If you want to leave a message and you want to leave anything, DM me or follow me on Facebook or you can leave a message on my messenger, My name is Marie Almanzor, or you'll find me on Maweepa social media on Facebook or on Instagram. Go right ahead. You matter to me. I care about you, and I love you. Okay? You do matter to me. And you don't need to subscribe in order for me to matter. You don't need to do any fancy stuff. Because if you took the time to look at this video, then that's enough for me. Okay? I just want you to know that you matter and that I care. All right? Everyone have a great day, okay? Take care. Bye.